Previously in the Chaos Galaxy, Bogabooga returned from Pelisium to speak to Humongous Ancient Rockman on Gaios, finding out that his home planet Sindius had been destroyed. What was even worse is that the survivors of the destruction had now taken both halves of the planet, renamed them Sindian and Sindell, and had broken into a full-blown war between each other. Humongous Ancient Rockman gathered an army to end the conflict, but Bogabooga's patience had run out. He stole a ship and flew directly for Sindian, but filled with rage upon seeing his broken home planet, he transformed and felt drawn to the dark half-planet Sindell to join the war. Chapter 7, All-Out War. Bogabooga landed on the darker side of Sindius. As he got out his ship, his eyes winced as a hot, howling wind blew over him. There was no colour left on this side of his old planet, which he never used to venture near. Trees destroyed, mountains were split in half with large chasms on the ground, and buildings crumbled like toast. This was the true power of the force that had destroyed Sindius. He looked up to the sky, and loud explosions erupted all around him. The ground was jagged, and he looked behind him. A horde of organised troops were running towards him. At first Bogabooga panicked, but then the troops just passed him towards the centre of the chaos ahead. Bogabooga didn't know what to do, so he just followed the group. They ran a couple of 100 metres, dodging huge craters and the surrounding explosions until they reached a great, menacing-looking creature at the foot of a jagged cliff where many other armies had gathered. The creature must have been the leader of this army, Bogabooga thought. He immediately realised his respect for the creature. He seemed so driven and intelligent, being able to take anything he wanted without hesitation, and able to get things done, unlike Humongous Ancient Rockman who just waited and watched Sindius be destroyed. Today is the day of reckoning. The planet Sindius has been destroyed, and Sindell will rise up from the ashes. We don't need this puny planet anymore. Go forth to your ships, and together we will destroy the weaklings on the other half of this rock, take back what Barrow took from us, and we will rule the galaxy. Our allies and reinforcements will arrive shortly, but board your ships now and take what is yours from the pathetic scum on the other side of this half-planet they call Sindian, and I promise you, we will turn this galaxy into chaos. Every creature in the army roared, raised their weapons to the sky, and charged. Bogabooga felt energised, more powerful than he'd ever felt before, and headed to one of the makeshift ships in the area. These creatures must have put these ships together very quickly and with some help, Bogabooga thought. He had not been back to Sindius for about a year, and his people didn't have the technology for interplanetary travel when he left. Creatures of all shapes and sizes were charging towards the battle. Witches darted into the fight, throwing explosive potions and cackling. Huge beasts ridden by imps galloped through space. Ships' jets lit up and burst forward. As Bogabooga could float, he simply drifted across the gap in awe of everything unfolding around him. He was witnessing a battle that would decide the future of the entire galaxy. As the projectiles, ships and creatures approached the lighter side of Sindius, he saw the Utopanon army, fully organised into grids of 100 or so soldiers as far as the eye could see. Their ranks were bolstered by Chwarbs and Kaleidoscope warriors, and each group led by a commander. Their well-organised ranks were boosted in the skies too, with winged battalions above them. Cloudicorns, angel eatles and cherubs lined the sky. It was a sight to behold, and certainly a fearsome army. But Bogabooga didn't care. Not one creature from Sindell slowed their charge. At the centre of Sindian's forces was their leader of the planet, Drangel. Bogabooga could see that Pelfam was charging straight for Drangel in his ship. Sindian waited. Pelfam leaned forward and aimed his ship straight down at a 45-degree angle, and he accelerated. As he sped up, Bogabooga realised he was making a nosedive directly for Drangel. As his ship got faster and faster, Pelfam opened his hatch. As it lifted, the windscreen snapped off and blew behind him in the debris-filled wind. He pointed all his arms right at Drangel, and as his ship hurtled towards the ground, Pelfam jumped. The Sindelli horde screeched a battle cry, cutting fear through every warrior in Drangel's ranks. Pelfam's ship exploded on the ground in a fireball as his body flew forward, taking out around 6 or 7 Sindian warriors itself. Pelfam rugby tackled Drangel to the ground before Drangel could order his armies to fight back. The other creatures of Sindell followed, flying downward at great speeds and taking Sindian's armies head on. It was a total brawl. Angels fought demons, ranks were broken instantly, and the organisation and discipline of Sindian's fighters was matched perfectly by the savagery and power of Sindell's. It was complete chaos. The battle waged on for days. Bogabooga, although on the side of Sindell, didn't harm another soldier on either side. He was still conflicted, but just watched the slaughter continue. Sindian's once prosperous cities and fields filled with fire and blood and turned to dust in front of him. The creatures of Sindell seemed to be on the front foot. Sindian's armies were wearing thin, and their carefully calculated plans could not account for the madness that had occurred in the battle. Pelfam and Drangel were locked in a stalemate brawl. Drangel's dragons cried and breathed fire, which seemed to leave Pelfam unaffected, and his strong hands dealt many a blow to Drangel's body. Drangel's sharp claws had left scratches all over Pelfam too, but he didn't seem to be weakened in any way, whereas Drangel was growing tired, and seeing the destruction of his planet and people around him left a huge hole in his morale. A perfect punch to the jaw knocked Drangel to the ground, and Pelfam stood above him, taunting him with his many arms, creating dance-like movements above his head in the light. I have waited for this moment for a long time. The all-powerful Drangel, ruler of Sindius for so many years. And look at you now. No more Sindius to rule. As Pelfam raised his head and hands to deliver the final blow, Drangel's dragon heads exhausted all their fire and lay defeated under Pelfam. Every creature turned to watch. There was nothing anyone could do to stop Pelfam. But then, the ground began to rumble. Not from the explosions, but from Sindian itself. The planet felt alive. Pelfam stopped. For the first time in the entire battle, he seemed panicked. Everything went silent, and then the ground burst open. A huge, divine creature erupted out from the earth, flying into the air above the battlefield. Bogabooga looked into its eyes. It felt to him like the embodiment of Sindian in a single creature. He felt similar to the way he felt when he discovered Cranchon. The beast leapt onto the ground, landed right in front of Pelfam and Drangel, toppling over them. It must have been 5 times the size of a human and about 3 times the height of Pelfam. It roared at the top of its voice, swaying its head from side to side so it could be heard from all angles. What was this creature? Where did it come from? Drangel and Pelfam stared in awe at its majestic but terrifying form. It didn't acknowledge anything on the battlefield, as if it completely exceeded and transcended the little conflict that was going on below. Everything went silent and focused on the creature, and then it galloped away, increasing its speed until it reached the edge of Sindian just beyond the battlefield at the planet gap, and it jumped, gliding over the edge towards Sindell. As it jumped, every creature continued to stare, ignoring the second rumble that they could hear in the distance. As they watched the great beast leap, a second creature burst out from the ground over on the side of Sindell. No one knew what was going on, but the creature immediately jumped up and let out 3 simultaneous screeching roars from 3 demonic heads. The second creature jumped as soon as it had lifted itself onto the planet's surface. It was clear that one creature embodied Sindian and the other embodied Sindell, and the 2 creatures locked heads in a giant battle. Bogabooga watched. The conflict in the planet's core. That's what created these creatures. As the second beast rose up from Sindell, every Sindelli soldier cheered again and raised their weapons. Reinvigorated, they continued attacking the creatures of Sindian. Bogabooga took a step back. There'll always be conflict. It's inside those beasts, inside those soldiers, inside me, and inside everyone born on this planet. I don't know what to do anymore. Bogabooga felt his heart sink. As he looked around at good fighting evil, not leading to anything, he began to feel the switch inside himself again as his cloud cells began to shiver. And then he snapped back into reality, back to the battle, and he was terrified. He ran, he didn't know where, anywhere, looking for the nearest shelter, dodging flying weapons, weaving in and out of Sindian and Sindell's soldiers, away from the battlefield to a nearby cave. He didn't think he could ever feel worse than seeing his home planet destroyed. but seeing what was left of the planet afterwards fighting each other was much worse. He'd left his best friend, Transponge, and let down everyone he had met along the way to get here. Iceberg Face, the Bubbos, the Space Patrolman, Aplu, and Humongous Ancient Rockman. Bogabooga sank into his cave and began to cry. He peered out through flooded eyes and saw a blurry swarm of dots headed towards the battlefield. Pelfam, who had let Drangel escape somehow after the commotion with the giant beasts, looked to the sky. He let out a powerful laugh. "The reinforcements are here! The battle is ours!" The warriors of Sindian looked up to see ships like nothing they'd ever seen approach them. The ships were made of stone and had lava flowing through them. The lava seemed to be powering the ships. "We have helped the powerful creatures of Chaos harness the energy from their volcanic planet, and it will be the end of you, Drangel, wherever you are. Commander, come in, Commander." A giant 50-foot ship was leading the fleet of about 20 smaller ships. "This is the commander of Chaos. Let me know when you want to launch the attack." "The time has come. Do it," replied Pelfam, and all of a sudden, the flaming ship fired out 100 projectiles at the Sindian army. There was nothing they could do. The Sindian ranks scattered in a huge panic. Drangel shouted, trying to control them, but fireballs rained down and there was nothing Sindian's army could do to defend from them or attack and penetrate the stone ship. The ship then fired a second attack after scattering the armies, and it fired what looked like puddles of sludge onto the ground. But when Sindian creatures went to inspect them, the sludge stood up, towered over them, and attacked. Bogabooga looked in horror, and all hope for peace in the galaxy seemed truly lost. So guys, thanks for watching this lore video. It's really heating up, and that was the second to last part of the lore. I have finished writing the lore, and it's been a really fun experience. But I need to release one more video for it before I finish showing the cards from set 4, because there's some really cool stuff related to the lore that I want to reveal after I tell you the ending, which is really cool. So stay tuned for that. That'll probably be in a couple of weeks, and then I'll reveal the final stuff for set 4, and then it should be released before Christmas, which is fantastic. So thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Get your hands on some Chaos Galaxy packs to get all the cards you saw in this video today. There'll be links to the online store in the description below. Apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.